Shall we begin?
Hello, friends, and welcome back to the More Than Just Keto podcast. This is episode 26. It's also the final episode of season 1. I am one of your hosts, Molly.
Hello, and this is your other host, Ashley. So today's episode is going to be, this is a big one because it's the last one. And it's going to be a mixture of tough love and inspiration. We are going to talk about keto and you.
Oh, good.
And it's not keto, it's you. And I mean that with love. I mean that with
all
love.
All the love.
And you may be wondering what in the world
facts.
it is. It's could be some quick facts, some questions, and the whole goal of this is to leave really deciding, is this a lifestyle for you? Is this what you should be doing? Is this making you happy? Because ultimately that's what we want is happiness, right?
That's
we
right.
want long-term success with weight loss, and we want to be happy. And we hope that this episode leaves you feeling like you know the direction that you want to go in.
Yes. That's it. That's it. That is exactly the goal here, is that if I finish listening to this episode, I know where I stand. Okay, so y'all know me and Ashley by now. If you've been listening, this year, you know that we are no nonsense, straightforward. We tell it like it is. We don't think that we're right about everything, but we think we know a lot.
We've certainly learned a lot.
We've learned a lot. And we ask the tough questions to ourselves. Yeah. And we want to empower you to do the same. We want you ultimately to be honest with yourself, to be honest with what you're doing.
So you've been listening to us for a while. You may have been on your journey for a while. If you're like Molly and I, you've been here. I mean, this is the 26th episode, right? So if you've listened this long and you've made this your lifestyle, or you're thinking about making this your lifestyle, this is the point where we have to look back on the entire year and say, have I been successful? Am I doing the things that are making me happy? Am I enjoying this lifestyle? What is ahead for me? I think part of the reason that we get stuck in anything that we do is because we do focus on the short term so much that we block ourselves from being able to see the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Now, that does not mean that we dive into the future and try to solve all the future's problems. Right. Obviously, that sounds a lot like anxiety, right? That's not what we're talking about. But what we're talking about is, are we doing the self-reflection work that's required to make this a lifestyle if that's what we want?
Yeah.
Have we asked ourselves that question? I mean, if we really asked ourselves that question, is this something that makes me happy? Does this bring me joy? Do I enjoy this type of lifestyle? If you haven't thought of those questions, this is a good time to do it. Because if you've been on this journey for a while, or maybe you're starting again, or you're planning on picking up another journey, or you want to go to the next thing, these are the questions I really do believe that we need to continue to ask ourselves so we can figure out what lies next for us.
Yeah. Well, the wonder too is, do I change something?
Right.
Do I need to change something? Like, I think before you can decide whether or not you're going to change what you're doing, you have to be aware of what you're doing. You have to be aware of everything about it. And Ash and I have talked about this so much, about keto. So specifically, obviously, we're both keto. It's what we do. It's what we love. We love the way we feel. We know we've tried and failed so many times in so many other ways. And we've shared all that with you this year. So now here we are at the end of the year. You got the new year coming. People start making goals and plans and weight loss and what have you.
And it's definitely a time for reflection.
A time for reflection. And you see a lot of people that wonder if keto is for them. They wonder, is this something I want to continue doing? Is this something that
sustainable?
Right. Is it sustainable? Do I need to work my way into a different way of eating? And these are only questions that you can answer for yourself. No one can answer them for you. But don't think for a second that there has to be something else. Don't think keto is for a moment and then you've got to change to something else. Don't think you can't change to something else, because it's completely your decision. But ultimately, what you're going to have to do is get in tune with where you are, how you're feeling, what you loved about keto, what you love about keto, what you're troubled with. And one of the things that I think is very important to say is, when it comes to keto, if you're bored with it, if you don't like the food with it, if you find yourself constantly having to think about the food, know this, and this is where the tough love comes in. It ain't keto. It's not keto that's making you feel this way. It's you.
It's you.
It's you. You're bored. It's not new anymore. You feel like it's not working. But again, keto works if you work it. So ultimately, you have to set your intentions.
Ultimately, you have to have a reflection period, an honest conversation, an internal dialogue on what's happening. I think there's something here where you can really figure out simplifying your behavior, your actions, your choices, your happiness or unhappiness makes it very easy to decide what you're doing. So like Molly said, are you happy? Do you like the food? Is this hard for you? Obviously anything new in the beginning is hard. We're not talking about that kind of hard. We're talking long term. Are you dreaming of other things, of other foods, of other diets? Are you distracted? All of those are symbols of someone who's not in it.
Yeah.
And a wellness journey means you are constantly in it. You sign up for that, sort of always eager and ambitious to continue and morph and change and evolve into the person that you want to be, knowing that it doesn't have a specific shape. It doesn't look like specifically something, that it doesn't have a size, perhaps, that it doesn't have a physical property, but it is a spiritual, mental, and also includes a physical journey.
Right. Yeah.
Those are the questions that you have to ask. Am I making choices that support the lifestyle that I want to live? In order to be successful in anything you do, you have to enjoy some part of that.
Right. Right.
That's what fuels us between someone who does the job well and someone who excels or is exceptional.
Mm-hmm.
The passion that drives you to be successful is different from someone that's just good at the job.
Yeah.
Like I said, if we break this down into really simple terms, it seems very, what's the word I'm looking for? If we break this down and make it very simple between just making choices, it is very clear what you may be feeling can be simplified to just a few things, and you can make choices based on that. So if you find yourself saying, I'm not enjoying the food, you don't like the food, done, right? If you find yourself saying, I'm wishing or feeling like I'm missing out on this,
Right.
then it's not fulfilling you. That's a feeling, right? All of these are negative feelings. You can't just decide that you're now going to not feel that way and keep doing keto.
Right. That's good.
That's where you need to make a decision. And listen, this podcast is more than just keto.
Right.
There's a reason that is the name. We know that this isn't going to work for every single person.
Right.
That's okay. Because ultimately, Molly and I want you to be successful no matter what you do.
No matter what.
Because we believe a health and wellness journey with mind, body, spirit is about being the best version of yourself. And just because we got there with keto doesn't mean that every single person's going to get there with keto.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right? That's okay. So if you're feeling guilt, if you're feeling shame, if you're feeling self-doubt, if you feel like you've failed, then you just haven't found your thing yet.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Maybe you need to try the next thing.
Right.
But when you find the thing that works for you, you will continue to pivot. You won't quit.
Right. Right. And you have to always remember, ultimately, no matter what you choose to do, if you're on a weight loss journey, you will have to eat a certain way. Not necessarily the way of eating. Like keto is a way of eating. There are other things out there that are ways of eating, but losing weight requires a calorie deficit. So if you're not finding yourself staying in a calorie deficit, you're not going to lose the weight no matter if you're keto or not. Keto is not what's going to make you lose the weight. Being in a calorie
It's
deficit
not
is
the
going to
issue,
make you
right?
lose the weight. But if you love keto, like me and Ashley do, then you're going to stay in that calorie deficit. If you don't love keto, if you're sick of keto, if you're bored of keto, if you think keto is not for you, then you're not going to be in a calorie deficit and you're going to be miserable. You're not going to lose the weight and you're going to blame keto. It's not keto. Don't blame keto. It's not keto. We love keto, but that doesn't mean that everybody out there needs to love keto, but we don't need to hate it either, or hate on it. But keto gets a bad rap a lot. I find myself having to defend keto, and I don't want to do that anymore. So let's just talk about some facts about keto. Number one, keto is not a food. Remember, keto is not a food. But let's just talk about this. No matter what, it's not the food that's the problem. It's never the food that's the problem, right? Food is a constant. Food doesn't change.
You are the thing that is consistently changing. And that is always going to happen because on a journey, you are, like I said previously, you are evolving as a person.
Yes.
You are the thing you need to anticipate, not the food. The food is
Right,
always going to
right.
be the same, right? You have to anticipate that you will grow, change, and make other choices. I can give you small examples. There are things now that I eat that I didn't eat before. There are physically things that I do that I didn't do before. And now I eat different ways based on what is happening to me.
Right.
But I know and I anticipate that change. I know that when I come to a stop or a slowing, that doesn't mean we throw in the towel.
No.
I know that means that something is happening. What is the term? They say, when things get hard or
When the going gets tough, the tough get going. Is that
right,
what
but well, something like that, right?
No,
But there
the
there is a
opposite.
saying, there is a saying about when life kind of pushes back, that's an opportunity for growth. And that you
Yes,
have a
yes.
moment here where life is trying to teach you something.
Right.
And you get to decide what it is that you learn from it.
Right. Right.
And so you get to decide, oh, I'm being tested, right? I'm being tested. This is my moment. What do I do? And some of us use this moment to say, I quit.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
hard.
It's
I
not
quit.
working. Yeah.
Some of us use this and say, dig our heels in. What is it about my journey that I am loving? And like you said, I love the food. That's something that brings me joy. It is easy for me because I enjoy the food. My
Right.
tastes have changed because I've done this so long. So I actually
Right.
look forward to that style of eating. The ketones that my body is producing.
Insane.
I mean, do you hear
Yes.
this mouth? Come on. I have been at
All the
work all
time.
day. I
Yeah.
went to the gym. It is 11:30 at night. We're recording a podcast and I am here for it.
Yeah.
I am a tired mom, you guys. That was me beforehand. I could barely get my life together. I could barely slump myself into work. I had to motivate, caffeinate, I mean, literally like myself just to get the job done. And
Yeah.
now I'm running circles around my job, my friends, my family, my kids.
And why?
That is a
Because of keto.
motivator
Yeah.
because of ketones.
Yeah.
And that comes from this style of life.
Only
And
this
so for
style.
me, this is why you will, and Molly and I talked about this. We don't use the word never.
Right.
I never say never. And I will never say, that's a lot, that I will not do keto in the future. But what I can tell you for right now, as far as I can see in my horizon, I have no plans to change what I'm doing because of the things that are happening to me.
Yes. Right. All the
Because
benefits. Because
all of
of
the
all the
benefits.
benefits that your body is responding in such a positive way, because you're emotionally enjoying the way of eating, because of the way you're feeling, because of the success you've had, and because of all the carryover that's happened in your life. It seems crazy you'd even stop, right? It's like
Here's
it's
the crazy thing.
unfathomable to even believe that you'd stop.
So this year, I have gone through so many things. I got COVID-19. I lost my smell and taste. I thought it was going to be temporary. It did not turn out to be temporary. At this point where we're recording, I've had this for almost 4 months. I am telling you right now, this is a driving factor in my uh, relentless force to stay keto. If I would have gotten this prior to keto, this would have consumed me. The depression, the anxiety, the constant fear, the worry, the absolutely out of touch, unhuman, freak, weird thing of losing your smell and taste and be feeling like you've lost part of your humanity and connection with people on the most basic human level.
Yeah.
I would not have survived this because of ketosis and ketones and keto in general. It's made me have a clarity for my life. It's made me strong. I have learned that when I give up on my health, that nothing good comes out of that.
That's right.
That if I had every excuse in the book.
Yes.
I had every
Yes.
excuse in the book
Mm-hmm.
to take that moment. I was given an opportunity to quit
Quit. Right.
several times. Last year, I was fighting for my life and I stayed keto in the hospital and I
Yeah.
proved you could do that. And I proved that I healed miraculous time. I did a
Quick.
fabulous
Yes.
job. My body responded so well to surgery and all these things. And I fought for my life and I won.
Yeah.
And so because of that situation, here I am again the next year later, or the same year, no, yeah, the next year. Here I am the
Yeah.
next year
2020.
faced with another horrible
Life
situation,
altering. Yes.
life altering. I get COVID-19. I lose my smell and taste. My world stops.
Yeah. It's a big
Everything
deal.
about my life changed in that moment.
Right.
It may seem like such a small thing to lose your smell and taste, but that changes who you are in the moment. And I didn't think this was going to be permanent. Here we are 4 months later, and I still have no smell and taste. I was given a choice once again.
Right.
Do I let this derail all of my work, everything that I have fought for? Do I just succumb
Throw in
to
the towel. Right.
the circumstances? Here I am standing in the road. I can go left and I can go right, and I have to make a choice. And so
Yeah.
I do what I know at the very least makes me feel good,
Right.
and that's keto. See, a lot of times when we're forced into a situation where we're not feeling good, sometimes we make more bad decisions that make us feel even worse. And so that makes
Absolutely.
me ask the question, are we making choices because we want to feel bad, because we don't think we deserve any better, or because it's hard, because we want to quit?
Right.
And that's always my underlying question for humanity in general. But when we choose things, right? Is there a part of us that wants to suffer? Because that's the only thing that makes sense if we keep doing the same thing, right? We can't get out of that bad cycle.
Yeah.
We continue to make the choices that support negativity
Right.
and defeat.
So
So I went
why?
right,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And you may come to this very same place where something happens to you, or the diet's not working, or you're plateaued, which we talked about last episode. You may be presented with the variables that you could never have accounted for. I'm going to tell you something. Those are the moments that you really, really, really find out who you are, who you
Yes.
want to be. Because I
Yes.
wasn't thinking about who I was today with my loss of smell and taste. I'm thinking about who I want to be in the future.
Yeah.
Who do I want to be when I get to the other side of whatever this is? If this is forever, who do I want to be? What does that mean? Does my life stop? Who do I
Right.
want to be, right? If you're
Absolutely.
plateaued and you're not losing weight, who do you want to be? Do you want to be successful?
Right. So many give up so easily. They just give up. They quit. Like you said, the plateau, like they'll hit the plateau and then it's like, well, this isn't working. Well, have you tried something? Have you tried to shake it up? Have you tried paying attention to what it is that you're doing?
Tracking. The simple
Tracking,
things, right? We
checking
get
your,
back to
like
those
all of that, all the
rudimentary things, right?
like things that are like tangible. Is that the word? Like all the facts, what is happening? Because I know for myself, I had to do that because like with the plateau, I had to do that, which I talked about, and change things. You did that and change things. But going back to what you were just talking about, because I can't just move past that so quickly. That's a big deal that you decided, because that's what you did. You decided.
I did. I made a choice. Yep.
You made a choice. And so often we see people make excuse after excuse after excuse for this or that. It's circumstances dictate what they do. So they make the emotional decisions rather than, like you said, you thought ahead. You thought about who you want to be. If you were just making an emotional decision, I know people don't understand, but losing your taste and smell can really mess up your emotional state.
And we're not talking about like I can't really smell or taste.
No,
Like we're talking about
nothing.
nothing.
Zilch.
Yeah, for 4
And
months
so
now.
the fact that you've remained keto through this, to me, speaks volumes about how amazing keto is for the body. So for
Yes,
you,
I think so, for sure. For my mental health. And I think that's another thing that that's a ketone thing, right?
Just think if, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I would say, just think if you were one of those people that ate a bunch of sugar, whether it be natural or added, whether, if you were living your life with processed foods and drive-throughs, like all of the things that a lot of people eat, right? That combined with the mental challenges you're having now without the food and, the smell and the taste, you probably would be curled up in a ball in a corner. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I had my moments. Like, don't get me wrong. Don't just think that I showed up to this fork in the road and was like, yep, I don't want to be miserable.
Yeah,
That's not what happened.
No. You made the hard choice.
Exactly. And that's my point, is that it's going to feel hard.
Right.
It's going to feel hard.
Right.
You're going to feel like you are making a hard decision if you are presented with these unfortunate or unseen circumstances. I was absolutely on my bathroom floor crying myself to sleep. I mean, I was crying myself to sleep. I was crying myself to sleep in the bathroom. I was crying in my bathroom because I didn't want my kids to see me. If you're a mom, I was crying on the way to work. I was holding back tears when somebody's like, oh, that smells good, or whatever. And that seems so crazy, but it really comes down to that those are your senses, and that's how you live your life, is using those. And they seem like rights, and mine got taken, and it's a grief. So this is grief, is what we're talking about. It's a loss, and you may go through this at some point. And people kind of think of grief as only when you have lost a person or physically something. Grief is a large portion of our lives. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a hard thing, and a lot of times this is in grief moments, this is where things get really, really hard.
Right.
Things get complicated, and we often look for comfort.
Right.
And that is my old behavior, right? Old behavior is to look for comfort.
Right.
I am suffering. I feel sorry for myself. I need comfort.
Right.
And so when I say grief, like I said, it doesn't have to be a loss of a person. It can be a loss of a job. It can be loss of a friend. It can be a marriage. Grief is so present when everyone is grieving something, either an old life, an old friend, an old love, a person, a loss of personal things, money. There is grief everywhere in our lives. And if you can identify it, then you know how to treat some of that grief, right?
Yeah.
And working through some of those problems, or working through some of those emotions with food, is never going to deal with the loss of the thing that you lost. And I knew that this time. That was what was different.
Yeah.
I knew that self-medicating with food was not the journey that I wanted to continue.
Right.
That was my old life. Those were my old choices.
No, I agree with you, because like you say, we all have something. And I know for me in 2020, I had the whole shoulder thing, that I kept talking about.
Yes, it was so bad though. You couldn't even move your arm. You could not move your arm.
I could not move my arm. I still am not able to lift it above my head, but I have definitely made a lot of progress because it took a lot of work and consistency to keep doing that. But back whenever I tore my rotator cuff, and then I had a frozen shoulder that came about shortly after, because I didn't start physical therapy. And so my shoulder became frozen, and I could not even move my right arm.
That was so bad. I remember that.
It was
you
horrible.
couldn't even brush your hair.
I couldn't brush my hair. I couldn't shave my legs. I couldn't wash my body. I couldn't wash my hair properly. Like I had to have my husband help me do things. Like it was interesting. I've never had something, like you said, it's my right to move my arm and my right. You know what I mean? Like, and to have that taken away was very strange, and I could do nothing about it. all I could do is keep going. I could decide, right? I could decide and say, well, my shoulder hurts. I can't really exercise. So I think I'll just won't exercise anymore. Listen, exercise is good for the body. Exercise is good for the mind. It's good for the emotion. You think I'm not going to exercise just because my shoulder can't move? Because guess what? My other arm can move. My legs can move. So I kept going. I didn't give up. And some people might say, well, yeah, I listened to y'all, and Ashley gave her story, and now Molly's telling how she kept pushing on. Maybe y'all are just stronger than me. That's not true. That's not true. It's always a decision. If you allow yourself to make your life choices based on your life circumstances, you may not go very far, because life is full of circumstances and they're not all good, constantly for the rest of your life. So don't
There's
allow
always going to be something.
There's always going to be something.
Always.
So if you allow your circumstances to dictate your life
or your success,
it's not going to go well.
It will always be in the way.
Always. So no, we're not stronger than you. We just made a decision. So again, it's about a decision. So let's go back to keto. I never say never, but at this point in time for myself, when it comes to keto, I'm not looking for another process. I'm not looking for a way to go out of keto. I'm not looking for the next step, because for me, keto is my lifestyle. Keto has shown me so much with energy, with my body's healing. And I've talked about already the psoriasis, the IBS, and the anxiety. Honey, those are 3 things I've lived decades with. And I don't have those troubles anymore. Why? Because keto. End of story. So why would I stop? I don't see myself stopping. Because again, when it comes to keto, what do we talk about? It's not the food. It's because the food is constant. Like this is what I said the other day. I said, honey, I ate cheese before keto. I ate cheese before keto. I ate eggs before keto. I ate bacon before keto. I ate all that before keto. I just also had the biscuit with the butter. And now I don't have that biscuit. I replace it with...
The butter and the bread aren't friends, but the butter on its own is all right. And if you're doing, lower fat, then the bread is probably going to be fine too. It's just...
but you can't do both.
What brings you joy. Right?
Yeah, but if what brings you joy is the bread and the butter and the Ben and Jerry's later... you're not losing weight. It's just not going to happen. So sometimes you have to make a choice to not necessarily love everything you're doing, but to somehow find a way to adapt to a way that you do enjoy, that also gives you what you want. Because life is not about enjoying every single thing and getting everything you want. That's not reality. That's like a delusion. That's a delusion. So really, mind is very important here to set, we talked about this earlier, setting intentions.
And setting your intentions is a vital part, I believe, of your success story, right? That's what we're going to call it, because that's what we just believe. You're just going to be successful, right?
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
So, and what I mean by this can be a concept that you're like, we all set our intentions every month. We set our intentions with our goals, blah, blah, blah. That's not really what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is not only being so physically present in what you're doing right now, but thinking about the short term and then the long term. Have you thought about what this looks like when you get to your goal weight? Okay, just assume you do all the things right and you get there.
Right.
What does that look like? Have you even asked that question? What comes after that? What does maintenance look like for you? Is that possible? Can you do this sustainably for a long, long time? The chances are, if you're starting to reflect and ask those questions now, as you inch towards those goals and towards this point in your life where you may actually have to make some decisions, you've thought about it.
Right.
You're more educated to be able to make one of those choices at that fork in the road. This time, my fork in the road, I knew what choice I needed to make.
Yeah.
I knew what I wanted to do, right? Self-pity, a pity party.
Right, of course. Emotional.
Know what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to look at the facts and what I wanted beyond that.
Right.
So what I want when my pity party's over is to continue to be successful. Right. So what choice am I going to make? I'm going to move forward. And my momentum in life, I'll always say this too, is forward. I am just going
Yeah.
forward. I don't know exactly where I'm going to be. I think of it like this. You look out in the horizon. You know it's out there. You don't have to know what it is. You just
Right.
have to know that that's the direction you're going. But
Mm-hmm.
if you're so consumed with the everyday and the every moment and the everything you put in your mouth at every time that you can't look up and see that there's things beyond this,
Right.
then are you dieting or are you lifestyling?
Yeah.
Is that what we're doing? Because I'm going to tell you, a lifestyle looks at all points that make up
Mm-hmm.
your life.
Mm-hmm.
Your friends, your family, your outings. For me, this is easy for me to travel. This is easy for me to sustainably do for long term because it makes me happy. And I'm constantly thinking about when's the next thing that's going to come up that I'm going to have to make a choice.
Right.
And because I'm looking for that, I'm setting myself up for future success
Right. Exactly. Right.
because I'm anticipating
Mm-hmm.
what is going to happen. I'm not worried about what happened yesterday or the day before. I'm just moving forward. And this is how you can get into a situation where you've plateaued, where you're not sure what to do. Anticipate that.
Yeah.
100% know when you set your intentions. I'm going to hit a point where I may slow down. I may hit a point where I stop. What am I going to do in those situations? Do we ask ourselves that when we start a journey? I know I didn't. Do we think? I did not think in advance, but I'm going to tell you what, I do it now. And
Yeah.
I think that's what success continues to look like for me. I anticipate my own choices, my own things, and I allow or think of situations where I may get the control taken away from me. And how am I going to overcome
Right.
that
Right.
situation?
That's good.
That's what makes us successful.
Yeah. I didn't think about it either, but I didn't have someone asking the questions like you're doing right now. I didn't have a
And that's the
podcast I was
point of
listening
today,
to.
right?
Right. Listening to these, me and you, like I didn't have someone to listen to who's been there, done that, and has gone through the things and asked the questions and became self-aware and made the choices, right, ahead of time. So I think a good thing to do is to ask yourself the questions. Do I want long, sustainable weight loss?
Weight loss.
Is what I'm doing making me happy? So you have to ask yourself the questions and
Yeah.
you have to
Only you
reflect.
know the answer.
Only you know the answer. And then
And I'll tell you, there's no wrong answer.
right.
Like, do know that there is no wrong answer. It's just that your answers may add up to be something different than what you expected
Yeah.
and different than what you planned.
Right.
And
And that's
that
okay.
means you haven't found it yet.
Right. And you need to just
But you've
keep
got to keep
searching.
doing this. You've got to keep
Right.
asking the questions if you want to have success in any form. It doesn't have to just be keto, but we're just talking about life, right? Like if you want to
Yeah.
be
Aren't we
successful,
always?
we have to keep asking these questions and reflecting on the choices that we make and why we make the choices we make. And
Right.
if presented in the future, how will we make those choices?
Yeah.
What will we do differently when we're presented with this
Right. When
situation
we're
again?
faced with,
Because
right.
the chance is we will grieve again, we will love and loss and change and flourish.
Because we
And
must do those things as well. That's all part of it.
that
Right.
is all part of life. And we will go through changes like seasons. But have you thought about that?
Right. That's
You're
good stuff.
never going to get to a place where things are just good forever.
Never.
That doesn't
That
exist.
doesn't
Like
exist at
life
all.
doesn't just simply hang out and chill.
Right. It's just not reality.
So
You got to
if
be
you're
realistic.
chasing this point that you're trying to get to, it's never going to happen.
Mm-mm. Never. But back to keto specifically, we also know that keto isn't for everybody. We know that. And we're never, by the way, you're probably keto if you're listening to this podcast. But if you're not keto and you're listening to this podcast, we're not trying to recruit you to be keto. Never. We're just always sharing our love for keto, what it's done for us. And we do highly recommend everyone give it a try. See how it works for you. But let's just say it doesn't work for you. Let's say you walk away from, let's say you've been keto and you decide to walk away from keto and not be keto anymore.
We've seen this a lot in our community. We've seen people come and people go.
Yeah.
And there
come
tends to
back.
be a misconception that keto doesn't work
Right.
or that keto isn't as good as people say. What we know is that keto doesn't work for everyone because it's not for them.
Right.
Like it may not be for you.
Yeah. Remember, it wasn't keto. It wasn't the diet. It wasn't the food. It wasn't the community, because the community's awesome. but it was you. So
Because
remember
that's the
that
only variable that can
it's
change
the,
is
because
you.
none of the
The
other,
food is always the same across the board,
right.
no
And the
matter what diet you
community,
do.
that's true. The food is the food. It's not going to change. And the community, people come and go, but that community is always there. And that community is so good to have all through your journey.
Yeah,
But
rely on your community,
yeah,
communicate with them. If you're struggling, one of the best things that you can do is reach out to somebody because we've all struggled. And just because you see that people are being successful right now, we've all had
we
periods
had moments. Everyone has
where
their
we've had to make
moments.
hard choices, or we've had
Right.
to pivot, or we've had places of non-success or stalls or plateaus. That
Yeah.
is part
Part
of the
of it. That's
process.
part
That's
of
how we
it.
figure out who we are and who we want to be. We have to go
Right.
through those things. The growth is in the change and in the hard things. So
Things,
if you're presented with
yes.
something hard, look at it from a different perspective. This is how I personally prevail when I have a hard situation. I don't know what this is teaching me. I can't possibly see it right now because I'm hurting, because I'm having a hard time, because I'm feeling sorry for myself. But I know that this is something that I have to learn, that there is a lesson embedded in
Yes.
whatever I'm going through.
Yeah.
Life is about perspective. Weight loss is about perspective as well. People don't think that, but this is all about the mind. And if you're
Yeah.
doing those perspective shifts, you will be very surprised at the choices you make
Yeah.
when you're leading your own path and not following whatever it is that you're chasing.
Yeah. So like I just said, like we're not stronger than you.
No,
We're not, but
there's
you know
nothing
what?
different.
We just, like you just said, because I'm the exact same way. If there is a situation that is tough, that is hard, that is a challenge, I'm like, okay, what am I supposed to learn here? I don't say, oh, okay, I can't do that. It's not because,
Yeah, this is happening to me. Why me? I mean, of course we
yeah,
have those moments, but at the
I
root of
don't
it,
like
it's
that. Right.
I know I'm learning because
Yeah.
this is hard. And that's where we change and we grow. It is what we do in those moments that defines the success we
Yes.
will have
Absolutely.
and the type of person that we are becoming.
That's
And you
it.
can either go backwards or you can push through into the new person that you want to be, that person
Yes.
that you desire deep within yourself to be. And
Right.
everybody has
And
that
that's what,
opportunity
right. Right.
every single day.
That's it. That's it. I love it. Yeah. That's good. And if you're pressing forward and staying keto, we'll see you in the community.
I hope that anyone that's listening, I hope you're here, and I hope you're here for season 2.
Ashley, can you believe this was our last episode?
I'm a little teary-eyed. Like I'm a little I feel all the emotions.
Can you
I
even
have loved this.
believe
This
it?
has been an absolute labor of love. If you have listened to us for this entire year,
Wow.
I can just not thank you enough. Like,
I
I
know.
hope you feel the love and the vibes and just all of the things. I hope that you have reflected. And if you had, reach out to us. We would love to hear from
Oh,
you guys. We would
yes.
love
Y'all
to
know we
hear.
love that.
Yeah, because we feel like all the things that we've shared this year has helped not only the listeners, but it's helped us. I know that we've grown a
Absolutely.
lot.
We've
We've
grown
changed the way we feel
so
about things
much. Yes.
so much.
Yes.
And I hope that that's sparking change in each one of you that's listened.
Yeah.
And we hope you come back because this is not the end.
Nope. Season 2 coming soon. We'll see you then.
Bye, friends. We love you so much.
Love y'all.
Thanks for joining us today. You can find and connect with us over on Instagram at More Than Just Keto. Don't forget to subscribe so that you never miss out on the fun. We'll see you next time.